A president was almost murdered on American soil in an American state, and 2 years later, we've been handed redactions, a cremated suspect, and told to move on. After this happened, 8 shots in 4 seconds, and then silence, and that silence has lasted for 2 years.
See something that said, take a look at what happened.
It is easy to remember the noise from that night, the media coverage, the fight from Donald Trump, the screams. But I think the silence has been even louder. The cover-up that has gone on for the last 2 years, and I'm calling it a cover-up because there's no other way to describe what we've witnessed over the last 24 months. If I say the name Luigi Mangione, most people instantly know who I'm talking about. But if I say the name Thomas Matthew Crooks, I always get the same confused look, like, who is that? But 24 months ago, this guy right here, Thomas Matthew Crooks, almost killed Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. Think about that. And in an age where every one of us leaves a trail a mile long, every post, every search, every text, social media, LinkedIn, yet our own government, our own FBI want us to believe that Thomas Matthew Crooks had almost no digital footprint, no manifesto, no note, no motive, like he didn't exist before July 13th, 2024. Then his body was cremated 8 days after the shooting. His parents, both licensed counselors, have never spoken publicly. A neighbor described the family as, quote, ghost-like. Investigators found 3 explosive devices, 2 in his car, 1 at his home. Yet all we have 2 years later are loose threads, fragments of a picture that will never be finished. It happened just 24 months ago, not 60 years ago like JFK. But for some reason, the entire thing is still clouded in mystery. The public know more about Renee Good's life story than they do about the man who tried to kill Donald Trump. And that's not speculation, that's a fact. Why is that? How is that? And why isn't anybody else asking these questions? According to reports, Thomas Matthew Crooks was seen on that roof 19 minutes before Donald Trump took the stage. But for some reason, the Secret Service still let him take the stage.
Nobody said there was a problem. And I would have waited for 15. They could have said, let's wait for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, something. Nobody said, I think that was a mistake. How did somebody get on that roof? And why wasn't he reported? Because people saw that he was on the roof. And then other people said, there's a man on the roof who's got a gun. And that was quite a bit before I walked onto the stage. So you would have thought somebody would have done something about it.
The FBI officially closed the case last November. Case closed, concluding, just like Lee Harvey Oswald in Dallas, that Thomas Matthew Crooks acted alone, no motive, nothing else but 37 pages of redactions. Case closed, and that's where we are tonight, 2 years later. The case has faded from the headlines, deliberately from the rest of the media, and 24 months later, we know more about Lee Harvey Oswald than we do about Thomas Matthew Crooks. Lee Harvey Oswald, who right before he was killed, told the world that he was just a patsy.
I'd like some legal representation. These police officers have not allowed me to have any. I don't know what this is all about.
Kill the president?
No, sir, I didn't. People keep asking me that. Sir?
You shoot the president?
I work in that building.
Were you in the building at the time?
Naturally, if I work in that building, yes, sir.
Why would Oswald say that in that moment? Why did he use the word patsy? Those are questions that will never be answered because Oswald was shot and killed at Dallas Police Headquarters in 1963, 48 hours after making those comments. Thomas Matthew Crooks was silenced forever as well by a Secret Service sniper, only after he was able to get 8 shots off at the president's head. And over the last 2 years, a whole lot has happened. There were hearings, there was outrage. The director of the Secret Service resigned. 6 agents were disciplined. Hearings were held. Panel after panel after panel confirmed the security failures that existed that day and concluded that they were preventable. 24 months of motion, 24 months of activity, and at the center of it all, Thomas Matthew Crooks, 24 years old. But here's a question that no one's asking tonight. Was Thomas Matthew Crooks also a patsy? Was Thomas Matthew Crooks the fall guy in some larger conspiracy that still exists to this day? We don't know. And we don't know on purpose.